Former FBI Director James Comey said that he deliberately leaked a memo. Get this, he deliberately leaked a memo from a key meeting with President Trump to a friend. This was after he was fired, and he saw a tweet, and he leaked it in order to trigger perhaps a special counsel in this whole thing. Of course, we all read about it in the New York Times. President Trump's lawyer swiftly responded to that leak admission earlier today. Roll tape.
It is overwhelmingly clear that there have been and continue to be those in government who are actively attempting to undermine this administration with selective and illegal leaks of classified information and privileged communications. Mr. Comey has now admitted that he is one of these leakers.
Joining me now, Gregg Jarrett is back, Ron Hosko, Asha Rangappa, and Steve Cortes. Asha, let me start with you. Extraordinary stuff for James Comey to say, hey, I took this document. He said it was unclassified, even though it contained information, a conversation with the President of the United States. Deliberately gave it to a friend at the New York Times, at Columbia University, so that he, in order, could also give it to the New York Times.
Well, calling it a leak doesn't make it so. So I understand that this is a political strategy, but from a legal standpoint, these were unclassified, they were not privileged, and they were essentially personal recollections that once he left the Bureau, once he was fired, he could really give that to anybody he wanted. He could write a book if he wanted. So there was really nothing illegal about what he did. It may not, be something that was great for the president, politically speaking, but it's really not illegal.
Ron, you were the assistant director at the FBI before. You understand how these things work. I think a couple of things here. First, the notion that Comey would leave these meetings with President Trump and immediately take notes, but you had these same FBI officials who interviewed Hillary Clinton over an email scandal that everyone knew was dynamite, and yet they did not take notes. It feels like the fix was in the whole time.
Well, I don't think there's an equivalency between what happened with Hillary and the director's engagements with the president, and I'm confident that in the interviews of Hillary Clinton, notes were taken and FD 302s, the FBI official reports, were produced. But here, I think the director was following not only his own instincts, but the training that every FBI agent goes through. You go into a situation, and in your senses start to tell you this may become testimonial.
With all due respect, did he ever take the notes with President Trump?
With you mean with President Clinton?
I'm sorry, with President Obama, rather. I'm sorry.
Well, he reportedly met with President Obama twice, and evidently those same senses were not tingling. He did not think something was afoot, and here, as he clearly described in the first encounter, something was different about this meeting, and it led him to go back out to his car and start to type. Yeah,
there was something different, Steve, and I tell you what was different. He already had a preconceived notion about who Donald Trump was as a person. And he'd already come to the conclusion that Donald Trump was a liar, somehow that he was mean-spirited. And ironically, as the course of this testimony went on, it turned out to be the mean-spirited guy, at least sort of the vengeful, vindictive person, was James Comey himself, who went out of his way to plant this story. And yes, you probably could call it a leak.
Right, Charles. Well, and listen, whether it meets the legal definition of leak or not, it's a leak to the common person, right? And I think you're exactly right. He clearly, justice is supposed to be blind, right? He did not approach his new boss blindly. He clearly was prejudicial in the legal sense of the term, saying, I believed that he would tell lies later. So the prejudice with which he approached his boss, I think, was appalling. More appalling than that is somebody who publicly continually criticized leaking, was himself leaking. This is not how our system works. If he believed that there was something untoward going on, he could have forwarded his information to a congressional committee, to the Attorney General.
But he was stunned. He didn't know what to do. He was stunned.
Well,
he was stunned.
He could have read the law, and the law says you have a legal duty if you believe or suspect somebody's committed a crime to notify your superiors at DOJ. He admits he didn't do that. So, he was in a position today where he had to essentially exonerate the president of obstruction. To do otherwise would have been incriminating himself, James Comey, in what's called misprision of felony. It's a crime.
All right, guys, we got to leave it there.